Welcome to DXB Today, where on today's episode we're going to be taking a deep dive into what is going on at COP28, looking at all things sustainability related and climate change. And as if that isn't enough, we're going to be looking also at some gender equality matters as well. So let's see what's coming up.
Faris takes us on a guide on how to get to COP28 and everything COP related.
How exciting. COP28 kicked off just days ago, and we've had UAE royalty and dignitaries from around the world, from King Charles to Bill Gates in attendance, and we have a little sneak peek for you.
Plus, we've got a talented saxophonist right here in the studio. But guys, let's talk about what is going on at COP28. So the World Climate Action Summit took place on the 1st and 2nd of this month with a large number of world leaders attending. Now, one of the things that they were discussing is how the UAE is committed to helping countries that are vulnerable to climate change and how they can impact. So what do we think about all of that?
I think it's very important to have topics like this, especially here in the region, having COP28, especially also you have all the delegations coming from all around the world. We had King Charles coming over the weekend. Bill Gates also was there, and the pledge happened for donating the money. You also have the Sustainafest, which took place over the weekend and today, just right before the show it ended. So it's very important to have all topics like this being discussed, especially also today's episode about gender equality, because the UAE ranks #1 in the MENA region and 24th out of 170 countries in gender equality. And things like this are very important for the region and for the world to have more equality being shown.
You know, it has been such a busy weekend here in Dubai because, of course, we had the UAE Union Day celebrations, COP28, and this is the busiest, in my opinion, Dubai has been since Expo 2020, but it was incredible. And of course, last Thursday was a milestone when the long-awaited pledge for money to help a lot of the vulnerable countries that are affected by climate change will be getting large sums of money from countries all across. In fact, Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, the president of COP28, said that the threshold that they had for the money to be raised was around $200 million, but they raised somewhere close to $420 million in the first half of the day, and I think that is honestly incredible. It also just goes to show you the commitment that the UAE has towards the global environmental issues, the solidarity, the support, and also the UAE, by pledging $100 million, what they're doing is setting a meaningful example for other countries to make similar donations and to really be part of the cause. I think overall, this has been incredible.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. And I'm really looking forward actually later to one of our guests, Kate Hardcastle, who is going to be coming on the show to learn about how we can translate all of this into our homes. Because I mean, that's the idea, isn't it? We've got all these amazing dignitaries coming in and they're talking about like the big picture. But how do we, the little people, put that into action? Like, how do we make that happen? So I'm really looking forward to seeing that, because I think that's going to be the big takeaway for the likes of us. Off the back of COP28.
Definitely. And I think our guest co-host is going to help us with that. So let's see who's our guest co-host in the studio.
Hi, I am Abhishek Sengupta, an independent journalist, and I can't wait to join you all in the studios.
Abhishek will join us right here in just a little bit, but first, as COP28 is underway, Faris went down to Expo City, Dubai, to give us a guide to all things COP. So let's take a look.
Yes, I'm at Expo City and COP28 is finally here, and here's everything you need to know. There are two different zones when it comes to COP28. There's the blue zone, which is open to delegates and world leaders and climate professionals, and there's the green zone, which is open to absolutely everybody. It is free, but you do have to register by going online to the website. In addition to all the climate excitement, you are going to be able to enjoy some of your favorite features of Expo City, like the Garden in the Sky, Al Wasl Dome, and of course, the water feature. There's so many different ways to get to COP28. All the usual parking lots are open that we all know from Expo 2020, as well as, of course, buses from all around the city, not to mention the metro. Or you could just take a helicopter. So whether you want to see the latest innovations, you really care about the climate, or you just want to have an amazing day out with the family in the sunshine, then COP28 is definitely the place for you. We'll see you here.
Now, our co-host today is an acclaimed journalist creating media content through impactful storytelling. Being a part of the media landscape for over 2 decades, he is the founder of a media group helping brands build their persona in the Middle East. Please welcome Abhishek Sengupta to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for that kind introduction.
Thank you. So we're going to jump straight in. Obviously, COP28 is happening, and I was just wondering if you could give us some insights and a little breakdown as to what has happened over the weekend.
It's been a very, very interesting COP28. I think it started with, for the first time in history, a 3D hologram of the founding father of the UAE, Sheikh Zayed, the late Sheikh Zayed, addressing the VIPs. We had King Charles III address, and I listened to that speech as well, where he said that we are dreadfully off track and things have to be done. He also spoke about how the future generation is going to look at us for what we did and what we didn't. So those are very, very sort of moving opening remarks, if you like. And then there was a lot of follow-up on what were promised last year at Sharm el-Sheikh in COP27, Paris Agreement, that was way back in 2015. So Dubai, in more ways than one, is going to speed things up, and that is what COP28 is all about. And of course, there have been slew of deals and agreements and funds that have been pledged by different governments. UAE on the first day pledged, in fact, instituted a $30 billion fund for climate action. There was a separate, almost $450 million fund for loss and damage. It's called the Loss and Damage Fund. We talked about it last year in Sharm el-Sheikh. Now, if that was a blueprint, if you like, it's now got some shape and form this year at the COP28. So when you look at, when you go back in history, COP1 started in '95. A very young Angela Merkel was the president that year, 1995, Berlin. And since then, we've had the Kyoto Protocol in '97, we had Paris in 2015. And I believe, and not because I've been a resident of Dubai for 17 years and I love Dubai to bits, but objectively speaking, I believe there is going to be some genuine outcomes over these 12 days at COP28. Lots happening, to be honest.
And as you mentioned a little bit earlier on, there's so many dignitaries who've been visiting. I want to understand a little bit more about the actual goal of COP28, because I was just watching a clip that the world-renowned spiritual leader Sadhguru mentioned during the inaugural speech at COP28. He mentioned that COP28 is not an absolute solution, but an effort towards spreading awareness about climate change and climate action.
Absolutely. In fact, funnily enough, I have been spending the last few weeks in the run-up to COP28 at different events across the country. A couple of weeks back, I was at a Sharjah tourism event. Just last week, I was in Abu Dhabi at the Abu Dhabi Finance Week. Now there, if you look at it, they're completely unrelated to climate change talks. But COP28 has become the talk of not just town, but the entire country and the region. So there is definitely a lot of awareness. People are talking about it. And one good thing that COP28 has done is it's got everyone involved, average Joes, if you like, talk about climate change.
And like, a COP has a lot of themes happening. Like yesterday, they spoke about health. Today, they're talking about gender equality. So what are some of the things that they're going to be discussing throughout the week that we should look forward to as well?
Yeah, I was reading, and I haven't been to COP yet, and I hope that I'm going to change that track record now over the next few days. But what I've read about COP is that this is by far the most inclusive COP. So it's not just about climate change that they're talking. They've touched upon health. That was Bill Gates yesterday. In fact, they pledged a $777 fund, which we talked about. They're talking about gender equality. They're talking about every other social factors that sort of, today's headline was, leaders have met to keep the planet alive. So everything that makes us strive for a healthier and a more prosperous future is going to be talked about at the COP28. Even food that you're going to eat at COP28, I was hearing a little bit of chatter on the radio the other day, is vegan, and they're in fact telling you how the food that you're eating has been grown sustainably. So you are actually sort of, without knowing, you are part of a whole new movement.
Yeah, definitely, because also tomorrow is World Soil Day and agriculture. They're going to be talking about all of this. Even something that is very important is homegrown food.
Exactly.
And this will help with the carbon footprint to be lowered down, especially worldwide. If everyone grows their own local food, is going to be significantly.
What's happening is you read about these terms, you come across, I mean, on food packaging and stuff. But this is an event where you're actually going to experience it firsthand. You're going to see what literally sustainable homegrown products mean. How are they grown? I was just reading an article about someone's growing purple chilies at COP28. Now that's intriguing, but the story of how it's grown sustainably in a desert like the UAE, I mean typically it is still a desert, is the story that interests everybody. You don't have to be a climate action specialist, if you like, to know or to find out what's behind the story.
So
I mean, you just mentioned that you don't need to be a specialist. And how much awareness is it going to spread towards the average consumer like ourselves? And also, how much accountability will some of the bigger companies out there who have a lot of the times been accused of greenwashing their brands, pretending to be more environmentally friendly than they are, how much accountability will be taken by them?
No, that's a very good question. In fact, a lot of people, and there are always different factions who will question everything that you do, and I've heard a lot of stories against COP in general, whether they actually achieve anything at all. But the fact remains that there's a lot of talk about NDCs, nationally determined contributions. Every country will now have to review their NDCs, which is a 5-year plan on how you decarbonize, how you sort of upscale your renewable energy plans. So every country is now accountable. And when I say every country, every corporate in that country will fall in line, will have to fall in line. And what COP28 has done is there have been spin-offs now. I was just on my way to the studio today, I was listening to another podcast, and UAE is now organizing another event which is going to incorporate climate education for children. And it is very, very important. We suddenly now feel that there is a need for understanding climate as part of a curriculum in schools. And that is going to then make us a more conscious generation going forward.
We still have a lot to talk about, but let's see what's coming up. Coming up, we have a consumer engagement specialist here to discuss her mission during COP28. Plus, a very talented artist is going to sing for us tonight, so don't go anywhere.